In my ministry with young adults and college students, we love a good icebreaker question. It can be hard and awkward and weird to meet new people and to do the work of finding out what you have in common. And so it's very important to me as a pastor that we help you do that work when you come and see us so that you don't feel left to your own devices. Here are some examples. What was your favorite song when you were 18 years old? Mine is Clocks by Coldplay. What song is your go-to karaoke song? Or if you've never done karaoke, what song would you be brave enough to give it a go at? Mine would be a perfect tie between Breaking Free from High School Musical and If It Makes You Happy by Sheryl Crow. If you were going to open a little storefront in downtown Fredericksburg, what would you sell? I would sell used art supplies and very, very cheap art. What food can you not stop buying, eating, cooking, ordering these days? What food is your current hyperfixation? Mine is polenta. What TV show or movie has most recently made you exclaim out loud while you were watching it? Unfortunately, my answer is Love Island. And my personal favorite, if you were going to start your own college club, or if you're not in college, if you were going to start your own college club for adults, what would you all do? What kind of club would you start? I think this question really gets at the heart of who you are. What club or meetup group would you start, and what would you do? My answer is that I would start what I've now started calling the Appetizers Sitting Club, where we would order deep-fried appetizers from TGI Fridays or from Primavera. We would all get our camping chairs and set them out on the lawn, and then we would eat our appetizers. And that's it. Yes or no, would you join my club?
Oh, yes, yes. Add a fire. Add a fire.
The slightly modified version of this question might be, if you're going to start a ministry at church, if you're going to start a ministry at Trinity that was specific to your gifts, skills, interests, specific to your quirks, specific to the needs of this place and the needs of our community, what kind of ministry would you start and what would you do? And my first follow-up question is, does the Appetizers Sitting Club count? Or would the let's take very slow walks around the neighborhood and look at every interesting plant that we see club count? Is it churchy enough to count as a ministry? Does it need to be churchy to count as a ministry? If we started a ministry that was, we all kind of work from home now and it's hard to do work by yourselves, so here is a fridge full of drinks and a little bit of light background music, and we don't actually talk, but we all sit together and do our work, and then for 5 minutes every hour we put on one Britney Spears song. Would that club count? Would that ministry count? Why does the little voice in the back of my head say that a ministry like that or that or that is not churchy enough to count? I suppose I just want to push back on the idea that finding creative ways of meeting the needs and the longings that we feel ourselves and that we see in the community, I want to push back on the idea that there are ways that we could do that that would be wrong or not churchy enough. I think that there's something for us to learn from paying attention to the shape and the pattern of Jesus' ministry. He does a lot of teaching. He tells a lot of parables. He spends a lot of time in the temple. But also, So much, so often, over and over, he is going from town to town, from person to person, and he is hearing them out in their hurt and in their longing, and he's addressing their need. He meets people who are lonely, people who are hungry, people who are unwell, people who have questions, people who are confused, and almost without exception, he gives them what they ask for. The activity of Jesus is going around asking people what they need, hearing them out in their true need, and addressing it. And I guess it feels kind of wild to me to think that there are ways of doing that we would decide are not churchy enough. Jesus is not a genie. He's not a wish granter. He doesn't give the tax collectors more money. He doesn't give the officials more power. He doesn't offer to Herod his own head on a platter. But the deepest, truest needs and longings that people have to express are what Jesus is there to hear and respond to. I think sometimes with 2,000 years of established tradition behind us and 60 years of church-wide programmatic precedent, we can let the answer precede the question. It's easy for the church to decide already what people need and go on ahead with the answer without even leaving room for the asking. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? What do you need? And so I wonder how you would answer that question. What are you looking for? I wonder how your friends and family, your neighbors, your peers, your coworkers, your classmates would answer that question. I wonder what you are hearing from the people around you about what they are looking for. Where does it hurt? What is feeling hard or messy or mired or impossible to untangle? For what are they longing? For what are we longing? In all my work over the last 18 months, what I've heard more than anything is that people are tired. People are tired, lonely, overwhelmed. For some people, the future feels uncertain. For others, it can feel hard to believe that you are doing enough or that you are enough. What I'm hearing more than anything is that it's just a lot to be a person these days. It can feel hard and vulnerable to make new friends, to know when and how and where to make them. It can be overwhelming to simply manage all the affairs of being an adult with responsibilities, having to go to the grocery store after work, having to cook dinner after you go to the grocery store, having to do the dishes after you cook dinner, nevertheless having to keep up with DMV renewal and dentist appointments. It can just be a lot. And in a world full of people who are tired and overwhelmed and lonely, for whom the future feels uncertain or the world tells are not enough, I wonder, what is the ministry that you feel like you would want to start? Or perhaps it feels easier to ask, if you feel any of those things, what is the college club for adults that you would want to start that might help you meet your own and others' needs in the middle of that feeling? I know that we feel hemmed in sometimes by what feels like acceptable church program, or program that is churchy enough to warrant trying to pull off. It's easy to feel like, gosh, we can't really do the appetizers sitting club unless we say the Eucharist in the middle of it. Or if we're going to have the going for slow walks around the neighborhood guild, then we have to at least sing hymns while we do it. Or that the price of admission to our weird little co-working space would be that we have to cut a tonsure on the top of your head and hand you a camel hair tunic to come in. But I guess I just want to say that if it doesn't feel churchy enough sometimes to do the things that might meet the need of some of the longing that we feel and the longing that we encounter, if it doesn't feel churchy enough, can we decide that it might feel Christ-like enough? Can we decide that it might be Christ-like enough to help somebody make a friend? Can we decide that it might feel Christ-like enough to keep someone company who is having a hard time? Does it not feel Christ-like enough to give somebody the permission and the time and the space to rest or be creative or just be? I think that the gospel shows us, and the ministry of Jesus shows us, that even if it doesn't seem churchy enough just to be together, it can be very Christ-like just to be together. It can be Christ-like to hear out the hurts and the longings of those around us and to hit the nail squarely on the head in addressing it, even if the answer is not Bible study or liturgy or sacrament. I think the gospel shows us that it can be evidence that we are deeply formed in the logic of the gospel, that we are able to hear people in their longing, and that we are able to address them in their longing, even if the work doesn't seem churchy enough. We ought to believe that it's gospel enough. I can only imagine what kind of invitation it would be to hear from someone, oh, you're tired and lonely and overwhelmed. Me too, actually. Us too, actually. And I think that I've got just the thing for it. Come and see. Even if it's not appetizers on the front lawn, come and see. Come and see. Amen.